Stop whatever you're doing and listen very carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is going to define the next decade of global finance, and possibly the rest of your life. Something enormous is happening right now behind closed doors between Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and the dozens of nations aligning behind them. Something that experts said would never happen, something that could rewrite 80 years of monetary dominance in a matter of days. BRICS may be preparing to launch a silver-backed trade settlement system, a parallel global financial structure that replaces the US dollar for international trade, and if they succeed, even partially the US dollar, the world reserve currency since 1944, has hours left in its current form. Not months, not years, hours. Because once a credible alternative to the dollar exists, one backed by real, scarce, irreplaceable physical silver, the game is over, not slowly, instantly, like a trapdoor beneath the financial system we've all been standing on. And here's the part people still don't understand. This isn't about BRICS trying to challenge the dollar. This is about BRICS trying to survive the dollar. See, something has shifted dramatically inside global markets. Central banks around the world are dumping US treasuries at historic levels. Nations that once begged to join the dollar system are now sprinting away from it. And each week, new countries request to join BRICS: Egypt, Turkey, Indonesia, Thailand, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Ethiopia, Iran, and dozens more lining up behind them. Why join? Because they see the writing on the wall. Paper currency, backed by debt, is dying. It's the same pattern that has taken down every empire in history: Rome, Spain, Britain, and now the United States. Empires never fall because they lose wars. They fall because their money collapses. The dollar has already lost 99% of its purchasing power since 1913. It lost 85% of purchasing power since 1971 when Nixon ripped gold out of the monetary system. And in just 4 years, from 2020 to 2024, the US expanded its money supply more than any time in human history. You can pretend that doesn't matter. You can ignore it like most people do. But the rest of the world isn't ignoring it anymore. They're preparing for the end game. And that end game is real money, not paper money, not digital promises, not debt-backed IUs. Real tangible metal, the same foundation that has underpinned every sound monetary system in human civilization for 5,000 years. Gold and silver. But here's the twist almost no one sees coming. Gold is already controlled, hoarded, and cornered by central banks. Silver is the one thing they don't control. Yet. And that's why BRICS may choose silver instead of gold to launch their settlement system. Silver is the most strategically important metal on Earth. It's not just money, it's oxygen for modern civilization. Silver is in every critical technology: solar panels, microchips, AI systems, defense missiles, medical equipment, satellites, electric vehicles, 5G towers. If it stops, everything stops. So imagine the power of a monetary system backed not only by scarcity, but by industrial life support. A system where countries must hold real physical metal to trade. No printing, no debt, no manipulation. The United States uses sanctions as its weapon. BRICS is about to use silver as theirs. And this isn't some far-off theory. The preparations are already visible. You just have to connect the dots. Look at what's happened in just months. Central banks around the world buying gold at record speed, massive physical silver withdrawals from exchanges, BRICS nations buying silver in bulk outside of public reporting channels, rapid development of alternative banking systems, and currency settlement rails expansion of BRICS to include key energy and resource nations, and most importantly, discussions within BRICS about a commodity-backed settlement currency. First gold, now silver. If you understand history, you understand the pattern. Every time a global monetary system collapses, the new one rises backed by physical metal. The Roman denarius collapsed, gold and silver coin dominance returned. The British pound collapsed after WBY, the dollar backed by gold, took over. The dollar lost gold support in 1971, debt explosion began. And now the debt-backed dollar is failing, real metal must return. BRICS knows that you cannot support a global trade system on a currency that can be printed infinitely, because infinite paper always collapses back to the real world, finite metal. So ask yourself, what happens if 30 countries switch just 10% of their trade settlement away from the dollar into a silver-backed system? What happens when countries must acquire physical silver to participate? What happens when silver reserves are already collapsing? What happens when the metal needed more than anything else in the modern economy becomes the foundation of money? I'll tell you what happens. Silver leaves the mountain of debt paper and becomes the most valuable asset on the planet. The supply is already drying up. Industrial demand is exploding. Investment demand hasn't even started. And now governments are quietly stockpiling silver without announcing it. If BRICS announces their silver-backed trade currency or even signals it, silver doesn't go to 30 euros or 40 or 50. It goes vertical, because the price won't be set by investors. It will be set by nations forced into a bidding war for survival. This is the ignition moment of Stage 3 in the historic 4-phase pattern I will break down in detail in the next segment. And once stage 4 arrives, the price won't matter, because there won't be any physical silver left to buy. So before we dig into how this pattern always plays out, before we expose the real numbers global governments don't want you to see, and before we look at why the dollar is running out of time, you need to understand one thing very clearly. The world is splitting into two systems, one backed by promises, one backed by metal. Choose wrong, and the next decade will be the most painful of your life. Choose correctly, and you will watch the largest transfer of wealth in human history unfold from a position of strength. In the next section, I'm going to break down the four-stage pattern that always precedes a monetary reset, show you exactly where we are right now, and why silver, not gold, is about to become the single most important asset on Earth. This isn't speculation. This is pattern, and the pattern is accelerating. BRICS may launch a silver-backed trade system. The dollar has hours left, so now that you understand what BRICS is preparing to do, and why silver, not gold, may be the weapon that detonates the dollar system, let's zoom out and look at the larger pattern. Because what's happening right now is not random. It's not isolated. It's not accidental. This is the exact same four-stage cycle that has repeated every time the global monetary system has collapsed. It's mechanical. It's predictable. And once you see how it works, you'll realize we aren't preparing for impact. We're already in the collision. Let's break it down. The four stages that end every currency. Stage 1, trust. This is the beginning of the money system. Every monetary system starts the same way with trust. People trust the money because it's backed by something real. Gold, silver, grain, land. There's a reason every empire throughout history minted coins with physical metal. Currency was simply a representation of real wealth. For the United States, that period lasted from 1944 to 1971. The dollar was backed by gold under the Bretton Woods Agreement. Countries trusted America enough to trade goods and oil for dollars because those dollars could be redeemed for real gold. Stable, predictable, respected. But here's where the downfall always begins. Trust invites temptation. Stage 2Z. Corruption. Paper replaces physical. Governments discover they can issue more paper claims than physical metal exists. They realize they can fund wars, fund programs, fund expansion simply by printing. Paper becomes profitable. Metal becomes inconvenient. And slowly but surely real money gets replaced with promises. Sound familiar? The US printed so many dollars that foreign countries began demanding their gold back. Between 1958 and 1971, more than half of America's gold reserves vanished. The vaults were draining. The world saw the truth. The United States didn't have enough gold to cover the paper. So what did Nixon do in 1971? He closed the gold window, defaulted, ended convertibility, and the dollar became fully fiat. Money backed by nothing but trust and force. That moment didn't solve the problem. It multiplied it. Once you remove the physical anchor, the printing never stops. Debt becomes the system. Expansion becomes survival. The US debt was $400 billion in 1971. Today it's over $36 trillion and compounding faster than any time in history. Stage 2 complete. Stage 30, the squeeze. When real supply collides with infinite paper, this is the stage we're living through right now. And it's the most dangerous stage because it's when everyone starts demanding the physical asset backing the paper claims. In silver and gold markets, this is when people ask for physical delivery instead of cash settlement. Vaults drain, trust fractures, panic surfaces. And that's exactly what we're watching unfold at rapid speed. Look at the evidence that no mainstream outlet will dare explain. COMEX vaults have seen one of the largest physical silver withdrawals in modern history. Industrial users are scrambling to secure long-term physical supply contracts. Dealers are reporting shortages and record premiums. Spot silver is trading higher than futures prices. Backwardation, a signature signal of physical desperation. Backwardation is the heartbeat monitor of a dying paper system. It means the real world is calling the paper world's bluff. If everything was normal, futures would cost more than spot, because time equals storage and financing. But when spot explodes above futures, the message is loud. We need the metal no-lo, not promises later. That doesn't happen in a healthy market. That only happens when trust is collapsing. And at the same time, the world is preparing an escape route. BRICS isn't just expanding politically, it's expanding with strategy. They're not just adding countries, they're adding resources. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, energy Russia, energy and metals China, manufacturing and rare earths South Africa, platinum and gold India, industrial demand Brazil, agriculture, and soon, a silver-backed settlement currency. Imagine the impact the moment they make the announcement. Countries immediately start collecting silver reserves. Physical supply, already close to emergency levels, disappears overnight. Paper markets explode because 300 paper claims chase 1 real ounce. Exchanges freeze, contracts default, and deliveries stop. Stage 3 instantly becomes Stage 4. Stage 4, the break. System failure. This is the moment the paper financial system snaps. There isn't enough real metal to match the promises. Trading stops because exchanges cannot deliver. Billions of dollars in paper contracts become worthless. This moment arrives faster than anyone expects because panic grows exponentially. People imagine collapses happening slowly. They don't. They happen all at once. A few seconds before a dam breaks, everything still looks normal. History is clear. When silver jumped in 1980, the COMEX changed the rules mid-fight to protect the system. When the London gold pool collapsed in 1968, it happened overnight. When Russia withheld palladium in 2001, the price exploded 2 to 63% and paper traders were destroyed. Paper loses, physical wins every time, no exceptions. Why this time is worse in past collapses, the problem was financial. Today the problem is financial and industrial. Silver isn't just money, it's infrastructure. If supply disappears, the global economy shuts down. Solar panels stopped. AI chip manufacturing frozen. Electric vehicles dead. Defense systems grounded. Power grid upgrades canceled. Unlike gold, silver is consumed, not stored. Once used in electronics or medical devices, it's gone forever. We have entered a decade of impossible math. Rising demand, falling supply, BRICS, accumulation, paper market leverage, explosive pressure with no release valve. The US cannot print its way out of a metal shortage. Quantitative easing doesn't create silver. Interest rates don't produce solar-grade material. You cannot negotiate with physics. And that is why BRICS choosing silver is a direct threat to the dollar. The dollar is backed by debt and promises. A BRICS settlement currency backed by silver is backed by reality. People follow reality. What happens next? The first shockwave will be psychological. The world is not ready for a currency backed by something real. The second will be geopolitical. Countries will move toward whoever controls resources. The third will be financial chaos. Paper-silver implodes. The public rushes into physical, but physical won't exist. There will come a moment, sooner than anyone expects, when people realize they waited too long. At that moment, price becomes irrelevant. Because at any price, silver won't be available. The window isn't closing. The window is slamming shut. In Chunk 3, I'm going to show you what to do before the break hits. Real steps, strategic steps, not theory. And we'll look at the actions taken right now by individuals, governments, and elite investors behind the scenes. This isn't fear. This is preparation. Because once stage 4 arrives, there is no preparation. There is only consequence. BRICS may launch a silver-backed trade system. The dollar has hours left now that you understand the pattern, the timing, and the mechanism behind this global shift. It's time to talk about the part most people avoid. The part that decides whether you stay a spectator or become a survivor. Because once stage 4 begins, there is no strategy left to execute. You are either positioned before the break, or you are part of the crowd screaming on the other side of locked doors. So let's walk through what happens the moment BRICS announces their silver-backed trade settlement system, or even hints at it publicly. How the break will unfold, Step 1C. The announcement, it will not be dramatic. It will not be loud. There will be no fireworks. It will likely appear in a quiet policy briefing, a leaked document, or a press statement after a BRICS finance summit to support stable trade flows and reduce exposure to currency volatility. BRICS has finalized a settlement mechanism partially backed by physical precious metals, including silver. Within seconds, global financial systems freeze. Traders rush to secure metal before the stampede. Sovereign wealth funds start silent accumulation. Central banks panic buy physical silver. Mainstream media will not understand at first. They'll repeat the script. This is symbolic. It won't threaten the dollar. That's what they said about the gold window in 1971. Step 20, paper markets detonate within hours. Futures markets explode with buy orders demanding physical delivery. Prices gap upward. Exchanges halt trading repeatedly to restore order, meaning to protect the system. Dealers shut down websites. Inventory disappears. Premiums skyrocket. Spot silver jumps past 50, then 70, then 100. But that's just paper. Physical supply vanishes nearly instantly. Industrial buyers, tech companies, automakers, solar manufacturers enter emergency mode. The fight is no longer investors vs investors. It's governments vs corporations trying to survive. Panic becomes chaos. Step 30, contract defaults, cracks appear in futures exchanges. Traders demand delivery, but vaults are empty. COMEX and LB may attempt cash settlements instead of metal. Lawsuits surge. Regulators step in. Trading hours shrink. Margin requirements jump when contract fails. Confidence disappears. Paper pricing collapses. Physical becomes priceless. This is stage 4, step 4, the dollar spiral, with BRICS settling in silver. Backed units, global demand for dollars collapses. Countries no longer need U.S. treasuries to trade. They start dumping bonds. Bond yields skyrocket. Interest costs explode. The Federal Reserve panic prints. Printing causes inflation. Inflation destroys confidence. Confidence loss kills currency. The dollar falls into free spin. Step 5, the public realizes the truth. People wake up. Their dollars buy less every week. News shifts from mocking to fearful. Banks quietly limit withdrawals. ATMs set limits. Credit freezes. People rush to buy silver and gold, but there is nothing left to buy. One sentence appears everywhere. Sold out, no restock date. At that moment, price stops mattering forever. What do now? No one knows the exact day stage 4 begins, but the direction is lock. You do not wait for fire to buy insurance. You buy insurance before the spark. Smart positioning right now looks like this. Acquire physical silver, real bars and coins you control. Not ETFs, not certificates, not futures. If someone else holds it, you don't own it. Focus on liquidity, not collectibles. Highly tradable forms, Wenos coins, Maple Leaf, Eagle, Britannia, Philharmonic 10Os and 100 Oz bars from trusted refiners. Build gradually but immediately, not all at once. Enough to survive a currency collapse. 5% to 20% depending on your risk tolerance. Store with control, home safe, private vault, distributed locations. Never third-party frozen access. Tune out the noise. Media will call it fear, until they call it reality. Smart money moves silently. Dumb money panics loudly. Be silent. The final question soon. People will look back at this window and realize everything changed while they were distracted. Two groups will remain: people who acted early and people who explained to their children why they didn't. The BRICS silver system is not an idea. It is a trigger. The dollar collapse is not a prediction. It is math. The scramble for physical is not speculation. It is survival. The clock is not ticking. The clock is almost out of time. So ask yourself, when the announcement comes, when shelves empty, when spot hits 100 and physical is unavailable at any price, will you be watching from outside the vault or standing safely inside? The choice is yours. But do not pretend you were not warned, because now you know.